Hey friends, welcome to Homeschool-ology. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Nikki. I'm a homeschooling mom of 4. I've got a 7th grader, 3rd grader, and 5 and 3-year-old who are doing a pre-K level together. And on this channel, I talk to you guys about mostly secular homeschooling, but also a little about motherhood, having a larger family, and traveling with a larger family. So today's video, I'm going to be talking about how we use Brave Writer in our homeschool. This is a request from of one of you viewers here. So I'm going to talk to you. I have done previous Brave Writer videos, so I'll be linking those for you guys as well. But today I'm going to be talking about like how we specifically use it. So we have been using Brave Writer now for, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 years. Like this, I think this might be our 3rd year. And so I'm going to kind of explain to you how we used it in the beginning versus like how we are using it now. So you can kind of see there are different ways that you can use it, because how we used it initially isn't how we use it now. So to give you a brief overview, now I have done a video all about like what, you know, like a look inside Brave Writer. So I'm not going to go into like too much detail here, but I'm going to give you a brief overview. So, but if you want to check that video out, I'll link it here. So Brave Writer has 3 parts. So they used to have a like little puzzle piece thing. They don't really have that anymore. But basically the 3 parts is this manual or this book, which is Growing Brave Writers, which is this book kind of has an overview of how to grow brave writers, how to use this system. I did not start with this book. I did not have this book first. It used to be called something else. I never got that. So this book is not necessarily necessary. However, if you have it in the budget, it is a great book, and I do use this book now. But this is kind of like the middle component. This is kind of what ties everything together. This tells you why, you know, gives you the why behind how, you know, these strategies, why they are laid out this way, and tips and tricks on making them work. And then there is, in here, there is activities, like not necessarily lessons. I wouldn't call they're called activities. I wouldn't call them lessons. Like it's more something that you're going to do over extended periods of time. And there's no like do this and then do this and then do this. It's more of a, while you're doing history, try doing this, you know, like it's not very specifically laid out for you. So you know, I do like a curriculum that is spelled out for me, but I do also like having the freedom of like, okay, here's an activity that you can do, but you can fit it into your schedule the way it works for you guys. So this is a great book, so I do recommend it, but you don't have to start with it. What we started with were the literature singles. So you can buy this for the whole year, and you get sent a new guide each year, or each month, sorry, and you follow along. You read a book each month, you follow these guides each month, and that's your curriculum for the year. That's not how we do it. When I started Brave Writer, I wanted to just kind of see how it went, and you can buy these individually for around like $15. And so I was like, well, that's not much of an investment to try it out. And so that's what we did. We just got a literature single. I think we started with Charlotte's Web. I have some of them put away so that I couldn't get to them. This is one we're currently doing, but I think we started with Charlotte's Web. And we just follow it. What it does is it tells you, like, you know, it gives you a sentence to do for copy work, and then later in the week, you know, it's supposed to be 1 week at a time. Later in the week, you do some dictation off of that. They have different kinds of dictation that you can do. And then after that sentence that you use for copy work, it gives you some lessons, so to say, like some dialogue about things that you know, that were in that selection from the reading from the book. You know, so it talks about things like grammar, and it talks about things like you know, types of writing, and you know, emphasis and idioms and onomatopoeia and all kinds of things like that. All the different you know, grammar aspects and literature aspects to reading a story. And we just like it. It's simple, like it's not a lot of work. I let her do the copy work over several days because they can get a little long. So if your child likes to write, so this is the arrow level, and that's the paragraph there that they would have to copy. So we do it just one sentence at a time. Unless it's a really short sentence, then she'll do 2 sentences. But and then she does that. She'll write a sentence, and then we'll talk about one of the pages that follows. So this is one activity, and then she'll write another sentence the next day, and we'll do the next page or 2 that follows. And then, but we don't necessarily do this every single day, and I don't do it in a month. We take our book and we read about one chapter, sometimes maybe 2 chapters if it's a really good section of the book or the chapter was short or something. But we just read 1 chapter at a time or 2 chapters at a time, and once we hit like where the sentence or the copy work is in the book, then we will move on to that copy work. So it is not exactly how it is written here, how to use it. Like, we don't fit it within that month. It just doesn't work for us. We feel too rushed, and then we don't really enjoy it. And we just don't have that amount of time that it takes to sit down and read as much as you would need to read to get it done in the time period. So we just do it as we do it, and so that's why I don't buy the whole curriculum for the whole thing. Also, it gives me the ability to allow my daughter to choose what we read, because she's much more engaged when she gets to choose what we are reading. If she doesn't like the story, then she gives me a lot more pushback. So that doesn't mean we're not reading, that doesn't mean I'm not giving her suggestions or limiting, I want you to pick from these 3 titles, because, I want her to read things that she doesn't necessarily always pick, but it does help if she wants to read what we're reading. But if you're just starting out, or if you just want to get an idea of what Brave Writer is, I highly suggest just starting with one of the literature singles. Try to get one that has been updated, because their older ones are way less structured, and their newer guides have much more structure to them and are much easier to follow, in my opinion. So if you have a child that's that 11 to 12, or even I think a 10-year-old would be fine with this, Amari and the Night Brothers is fantastic. We are loving it so much. So that is how we will use this guide, and that's how we started. That's what we did in the very beginning. We just used these guides. Before we go any further, I would love it if you would head on down and hit that subscription button and ring that notification bell so you know when our videos are coming out. So once we had used 1 or 2 of the literature singles and decided that we did like the Brave Writers style, it did work for our homeschool, I went ahead and expanded into the other component, which is the writing component. They have jotted down, partnership writing, building confidence, and then one other one, which I think is Help for High School, but I'll find a little infographic and put it here if I can. So basically, we started with Jot It Down. What this is there is 10 writing projects in here. So when you buy the whole bundle, you get the Growing Brave Writers book, which we talked about in the beginning. So you'll get this with that. You'll get 10 literature singles, 1 per month, and then you'll get this, your writing, which has 10 projects in it, 1 per month. So ideally, you would be using this book kind of as like your guide to how to implement things. There are activities in here, and you would just kind of do those as they fit in. And then you would be doing one of these a month and one of the projects each month. So we don't do it like that. That does not work for us. It does not fit into our lifestyle. It does not fit into our learning style. It just doesn't work for us. Especially since my one downside to Brave Writer, the one thing that I don't love, is that I don't feel like the grammar component is enough. I feel like And it's because we're not necessarily using the whole curriculum, like we're picking and choosing our books, but it seems like every book we choose, it talks about commas every single time. So we've talked about commas until we're blue in the face, and we haven't really expanded on that. We haven't really talked more about too many other things. There have been things, we've talked about idioms and onomatopoeias, and like all of that is great, but like we haven't talked about what makes a noun a noun and what makes an adjective and what makes a verb a verb in this program. So that's like the one caveat that I have. Now, I didn't start from the beginning, and I don't follow the schedule like they say I should. So doing those two things, it might meet that. But because I'm using it the way I'm using it, that's my one complaint, is I feel like that's not strong enough. Like I wanted them to diagram a sentence every once in a while. To fix that, we got Fix It Grammar from IEW. We're using those together. We're using Brave Writer and IEW Fix It Grammar, and it is the perfect combination in my opinion, and we absolutely love it. We are getting the grammar that I think that she needs, you know, like how to write a proper sentence that I think that she needs from the Fix It Grammar, and we are getting the literature that I want. We are getting the concepts about literature that I want. We are getting everything else that I want from a literature program from Brave Writer. So I just think like it's a match made in heaven. I love it. It's perfect. That's how we use this. That's how I combat my feeling like there's not quite enough grammar. And so that was a whole aside. Sorry, down the rabbit hole we went there. But so how we are using this. So basically, like for example, the first lesson in Jot It Down, which I've put away and I don't have to show you right now, but it's fairy tales. So basically you take like Rapunzel, you read 3 different versions of Rapunzel, you compare and contrast them. How are they the same? How are they different? You know, how has it changed over time? You do an activity on whatever you have chosen, and that is your writing project. So with Jot It Down, the focus is on the child verbally getting things out, and the parent is jotting it down for them. And then partnership writing, they start to take more ownership, but the parent's still doing, you know, it's a partnership. The parent's still writing, but the child's starting to write more. And then when you get to building confidence, that kind of shifts more heavy on the student side. You know, the parent is doing a lot less, and then by the time they get to the last one, they're writing on their own. So that's kind of like the approach that she takes. I love that approach. It works so well for our family. I have kids who don't like to write, but still being able to give them the experience of creating stories and creating, you know, proper paragraphs and things like that without them actually having to write it is just worked really well for us. We do type here, we do write, like they have to do the copy work, they have to, you know, they have to write, but it has just been a much gentler approach. Letting them not having the anxiety of having to write has let them be able to be more creative and more, you know, work better at writing as far as like coming up with the ideas. So I really appreciate that approach that Julie, you know, that's kind of Julie's whole thing here. Like, we want writing to be fun, so we're going to make it as easy as possible. We're going to build the mind before we build the mechanics. And I just think that approach is great. So that is kind of what these do. But anyways, back to I keep getting distracted. I'm so sorry, guys. Back to the whole fairy tales thing. We didn't do that for 1 month. We did that for like 2 years. We haven't been doing it right now, but we will definitely be going back to it. My kids loved it. So what we started to do was to pair it with we were learning geography. We would pair our story with, you know, our country, and we would do, and it just worked so well. My children loved it, and we continued doing that for literal years. So that is how, like, I'm always saying curriculum is not a rule book, it's a tool. So we took what worked for us and we expanded on it, and we continue to do that. So I have not done every project, and we did not do every single project and jot it down. We did the ones that we liked, the ones that fit our school, and then I put that one aside because now we are into the partnership writing, kind of the level where we are, and we are doing the ones that fit into our homeschool, where they fit into our homeschool. I read over them. like we did the homophone book where it fit in for us. There was one that was talking about, I thought it might have been a jotted down to do an animal report, and so we did that when we got to the wild animals. When we got to the quill, everybody did an animal report, except, you know, the little ones didn't do like a full-on writing animal report, but they learned about an animal. You know, so we just are taking what works for us and we're leaving the rest of it behind, because you don't have to do everything here. You can do what works for you. So to kind of sum this all up and put it in a little bit of a bow, because I think I might have been a little rambly there. I know I was going off on some tangents. Basically, Brave Writer is 3 components. You have your Growing Brave Writers, which is kind of like the manual, for a lack of better term. Is it necessary? In my opinion, no. Is it helpful? In my opinion, yes, very much so. Then you have your 2 components, which is the literature component and the writing component. And so this is where we started. I think this is a good place to start. I think it really helped give us a handle on what Brave Writer was like. We did like 2 of them, and then we were like, you know what, this style works for us. We're going to expand on it. And then the writing projects, and you can fit them in however they fit in. These are really easy. By the way, these are really easy to adjust up and down. So if this is something that you want to do with multiple children at the same time, it is easy to adjust these to a higher or lower level. So there was a point where we were using both jotted down and partnership writing at the same time with both of my girls. So that is that. I think that is all I'm going to share with you guys today. I do have other videos sharing, like I have a whole video about how we used the quill, the very first quill that came out. I have a video talking, you know, kind of like with flip throughs, a little bit of flip throughs of what the Brave Writer looks like on the inside. And I think might be another one. So I'm going to link some of those here, and I'm going to put them all down in the description for you. If you have any questions about what, you know, like how Brave Writer might fit in your homeschool, or, you know, anything like that, go ahead and let me know down in the comments, and I would be happy to answer them as best as I can or point you in the right direction. If you don't follow Brave Writer on Instagram, you should. They are always sharing great tips and wonderful ideas on how to engage your children in reading and writing. Well, not necessarily reading, you know, she focuses on writing, but you know, you're getting everything that you need as far as reading goes as well once you're in the upper levels. So I think that is all I'm going to share with you guys, and I hope you will come back. Oh, while you're over on Instagram, I would love it if you would come over and say hi to me at Homeschool-ology over there. And I think that's all I'm going to share with you guys today. So I will talk to you guys again soon. Bye.